Jordan woke up on a Tuesday morning in September feeling completely fine about his life. He made coffee, checked his messages, scrolled through Instagram, ordered an Uber, used Google Maps, took a photo of his breakfast. His phone did all of it without a single problem. By 2 p.m. that same Tuesday, Jordan was standing in a line outside a store, waiting to spend $1,199 on a new one. Nothing had broken. Nothing had stopped working. No screen cracked. No battery died. No app refused to open. The only thing that had changed between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. was that Apple held a 1-hour presentation. And in that 1 hour, Jordan's perfectly functional phone, the same device he had used without complaint for 18 months, suddenly felt old, inadequate, behind. He couldn't explain exactly what his current phone couldn't do. He just knew that what he had wasn't enough anymore. And here's the thing about Jordan. He's not impulsive. He's not reckless with money. He has a budget. He tracks his spending. He thinks of himself as financially responsible. But on that Tuesday in September, he handed over $1,199, or signed up for $50 a month for 24 months, which sounds smaller but isn't, for a device that would feel completely normal within 72 hours. The excitement lasted 3 days. The payment plan lasted 2 years. And 18 months later, Jordan would do it again. My name is Alex, and what I'm about to show you isn't just about phones. It's about a system that has been engineered, deliberately, scientifically, at a cost of billions of dollars, to transfer your wealth into corporate bank accounts on a predictable schedule. And the most sophisticated part of the whole operation? You volunteered for it. Every single time. The hidden truth. Here's what most people think the upgrade cycle is. Technology improves. New phones come out. Old phones get slower. You buy a new one when yours can't keep up. That's the story. That's what feels rational and true. But here's what most people don't realize. The average smartphone today is built to last 5 to 7 years with basic maintenance. 5 to 7 years. But the average American upgrades their phone every 2.8 years. Not because their phone stopped working, because they were made to feel like it did. That gap between how long your phone can last and how long the industry needs you to keep it is where your wealth disappears. And this isn't accidental. This isn't a side effect. This is the business model. The tech industry doesn't profit from selling you one great device that lasts a decade. It profits from selling you the same device over and over again, with changes so small they require a microscope to measure, packaged as revolutionary leaps that you can't afford to miss. The product isn't the phone. The product is your dissatisfaction. And they manufacture it fresh every September. Why this stays hidden? The villain beat. In 2017, something happened that should have changed everything. Apple was caught. Not accused. Not suspected. Caught. They admitted, after a lawsuit forced their hand, that they had been deliberately slowing down older iPhones through software updates. The official explanation was battery management. Aging batteries couldn't handle peak performance, so Apple quietly throttled the processors to prevent unexpected shutdowns. That sounds reasonable, until you notice the timing. The slowdowns consistently appeared in older models right around the same period new models were being released and marketed. Apple paid $500 million to settle the lawsuit. $500 million. And then, nothing changed. The upgrade cycle continued. People kept buying new phones every 2 to 3 years. The story faded, because Apple didn't need the throttling to work forever. They just needed it to work long enough. Here's the deeper truth about why this stays hidden. There are 6 major players in the consumer tech industry: Apple, Samsung, Google, Microsoft, Sony, and a handful of others, who collectively generate over $1 trillion in annual revenue. A significant portion of that revenue depends entirely on you not keeping your devices too long. These companies employ some of the most sophisticated behavioral scientists, UX researchers, and marketing psychologists in the world. Their entire job is to manufacture the feeling that what you have is no longer enough. They study the exact moment your satisfaction peaks and begin engineering your dissatisfaction before you even feel it. The keynote presentation isn't a product announcement. It's a psychological operation. Every camera comparison that shows your current photos is slightly inferior. Every benchmark that implies your processor is falling behind. Every influencer video that makes last year's device look dated. All of it is a coordinated, billion-dollar campaign to make you feel something your device did not cause. The dissatisfaction isn't coming from your phone. It's being injected into your perception of your phone. And nobody benefits from you understanding that. Not Apple. Not Samsung. Not the carriers who sell you the financing plans. Not the influencers who get paid to review the new releases. Not the media companies whose ad revenue depends on tech spending. The entire ecosystem profits profits from your dissatisfaction, which means the entire ecosystem is invested in keeping you dissatisfied. The psychology, so why does it work? Why do smart, financially aware people like Jordan, like you, keep falling for something that, when you lay it out plainly, sounds almost too obvious to believe? Because the manipulation doesn't target your logic. It targets something much older and much harder to override. Psychologists call it relative deprivation. It's not about what you have in absolute terms. It's about what you have relative to a reference point. And the tech industry controls your reference point. Before the keynote, your reference point is your current phone. And your current phone is fine. It works. You're satisfied. The keynote shifts your reference point to the new model. Suddenly, every feature your current phone lacks is front and center. Every limitation is highlighted. Every gap is widened. Your phone didn't change. Your reference point did. And once that reference point shifts, your satisfaction collapses. Not because anything is actually different, but because the comparison has changed. This is why the feeling is so instant. You can watch a keynote and go from content to dissatisfied in 60 minutes without anything in your life actually changing. There's a second mechanism at work called social proof cascading. The moment a new device is announced, the cultural conversation shifts. Reviews appear. Friends talk about it. Social media fills with comparisons. The implicit message everywhere you look is, this is what people have now. And your brain, wired for tens of thousands of years to monitor social status as a survival mechanism, reads that signal as a threat. Having last year's phone starts to feel like falling behind socially, not just technologically, which is exactly what the marketing is designed to make you feel. Apple doesn't sell you a phone. Apple sells you the feeling of being current, of belonging, of having made the right choice. And that feeling only lasts until next September, when the next keynote manufactures your next dissatisfaction on schedule. The financial evidence, let's put real numbers on this. According to consumer intelligence research partners, the average selling price of a smartphone in America is now over $850. Flagship devices, the ones that get the most marketing attention, the longest lines, the biggest cultural moments, routinely exceed $1,000. The average American upgrades every 2.8 years, roughly every 33 months. Over a 40-year adult life, that's approximately 17 phone upgrades. At $850 average cost, that's $14,450 on smartphones alone. But that number is deceptively small, because it doesn't include protective cases, screen protectors, wireless chargers, new cables every time the connector changes, Apple Care or equivalent insurance plans, the monthly financing charges that most people now use to spread the payment, charges that add 15 to 20% to the total cost of the device. Add laptops. The average laptop is replaced every 3 to 4 years at around $1,200 each. Over 40 years, that's 10 to 13 replacements. Another $12,000 to $15,000. Add tablets. Wireless earbuds replaced every 2 years. Smartwatches on a 3-year cycle. Smart home devices. Gaming hardware. Streaming sticks that become obsolete when the platform updates. A 2023 report from the Consumer Technology Association found that the average American household spends approximately $1,700 per year on consumer electronics. Over a 40-year adult life, $68,000. That's not a small number. That's a down payment on a house in most American cities. That's a luxury car paid in cash. That's a year of private college tuition every single year for 4 decades. But even $68,000 isn't the real cost. The real cost is what that money could have become. Quantifying the hidden cost, let me show you the number that should make you genuinely angry. $1,700 per year on consumer electronics, invested instead of spent. At an 8% average annual return, the historical average of the S&P 500, inflation adjusted, over 40 years. That $1,700 per year becomes $467,000. Nearly $500,000. Not from a salary raise. Not from a windfall. Not from a business idea or a lucky investment. From keeping your devices longer and investing the difference. Now let's narrow it down to just smartphones. 2 people with identical incomes and identical financial situations. Person A upgrades their phone every 2 years at $1,000 each. Person B upgrades every 5 years at $800 each, buying a slightly older flagship, often refurbished, when they genuinely need to upgrade. The annual spending difference is approximately $380 per year. Invested at 8% over 40 years, that $380 annual difference becomes $104,000. $104,000 from one decision about how often you replace your phone. And this is before you calculate the laptops, the tablets, the earbuds, the watches, all the peripheral devices that follow the same manufactured obsolescence cycle. The total lifetime wealth transfer, from your pocket to tech corporation, operations, through unnecessary upgrades, is not a small inconvenience. It is a $250,000 decision that most people make. The mechanisms, how they do it, there are 3 specific tools the industry uses to manufacture your dissatisfaction. You need to know all 3. The first is software-triggered obsolescence. Every new operating system is designed for the hardware of the current generation. When Apple releases iOS 19, it's optimized for the iPhone 17's processor, RAM, and storage architecture. Your 3-year-old phone can technically install it, but it runs it like a Sprinter running in boots. The phone isn't broken. It's being asked to do work it wasn't designed for. And the only solution the manufacturer offers is the hardware they designed the software around. This isn't a bug, it's architecture. The second is hardware repairability, or the deliberate lack of it. A battery replacement on an iPhone through Apple costs $89 to $119. The battery itself costs approximately $15. The markup exists because Apple restricts access to genuine parts, voids warranties on independently repaired devices, and has systematically lobbied against right-to-repair legislation in multiple states. A consumer facing an $89 repair bill on a 3-year-old phone does a mental calculation and concludes, might as well put that toward a new device. That calculation is exactly what Apple designed the repair experience to produce. The right-to-repair movement exists specifically because manufacturers have made planned obsolescence structural, built into the physical design of the device, not just the software. Batteries that can't be swapped, screens fused with proprietary adhesive, components coded to specific devices so third-party replacements trigger warning messages or reduced functionality. You are not imagining the feeling that repairing is harder than replacing. It is harder than replacing, on purpose. The third mechanism is the annual release cycle itself. By releasing new devices on a predictable yearly schedule, tech companies have trained consumers to experience time as a degrading force on their devices. Your phone doesn't actually get worse with each passing month, but your perception of it does, because the industry has established a cultural rhythm where 18 months old feels like ancient history, where last year's model carries a subtle social stigma, where upgrading is the default and keeping is the exception that requires explanation. You still have the 15? Why haven't you upgraded? That question, which almost everyone has heard or asked, is the product of decades of marketing conditioning. The inconvenience isn't the technology. The inconvenience is social. And social inconvenience is far more powerful than rational analysis. The refurbished truth they don't want you to know. Here is the part of this story that almost never gets told, because it directly threatens the new device market. A refurbished iPhone 13 Pro in 2025 costs approximately $400 to $450. A new iPhone 16 Pro costs $1,199. In blind usage tests, real-world tasks, not synthetic benchmarks, most users cannot reliably distinguish between them. Email, messages, Instagram, maps, camera in normal daylight, streaming video, phone calls, every app you use daily. The 3-year-old flagship handles all of it with performance that is imperceptible from the new model in actual use. You are not paying $800 more for a better experience. You are paying $800 more for the knowledge that you have the newest version. That's it. The psychological satisfaction of being current. The social signal of having upgraded. The brief dopamine hit of unboxing something new. Those feelings cost $800 and last approximately 72 hours. The refurbished market exists and is excellent precisely because the upgrade illusion works so well. Every time someone trades in a perfectly functional device for something marginally better, that device floods the secondary market at a fraction of its remaining useful life. The person who buys that refurbished device is making a more financially rational choice than the person who bought it new. The marketing has convinced us that refurbished means inferior. It doesn't. It means someone else paid the premium for the new device smell, and you get flagship performance at half the price. What do you actually do? Not theory, not aspiration. Real, implementable changes. First, define your actual use case in writing. Before your next upgrade, write down every task you perform on your phone in a typical day. Be specific. Not, take photos. Take photos of what? In what conditions? Then ask, does my current device fail at any of these tasks? Not, could it do it better? Does it fail? If the answer is no, and for most people, the answer is no, you don't need an upgrade. You need to resist a feeling that was manufactured for you. Second, replace the battery before you replace the phone. Battery degradation is the #1 reason phones feel slower and less reliable over time. A battery replacement extends device life by 2 to 3 years. iPhone battery replacement, $89 through Apple, or significantly less through reputable third-party repair shops in states with right-to-repair protections. Samsung battery replacement, similar range. The math is simple, $89 repair versus is $1,199 replacement. If the repair adds 2 years of use, you've effectively paid $44 per year for excellent performance from a device you already own. Third, buy refurbished when you genuinely need to upgrade. Apple, Samsung, and trusted third-party vendors like Backmarket and Swappa sell certified refurbished devices at 30 to 50% discounts with warranty coverage. A 2-year-old flagship refurbished is not a compromise. It is a financially superior choice dressed up in a stigma the industry manufactured to protect new device sales. Fourth, set your own upgrade timeline, not Apple's. A good smartphone should last 4 to 5 years. A good laptop should last 6 to 7 years. A good tablet should last 5 years. The upgrade trigger should be, my device cannot run the software I need, or the battery no longer holds a functional charge even after replacement. Not, a new version exists. Not, my contract allows an upgrade. Not, everyone else seems to be upgrading. Your timeline, your decision, your money. Fifth, calculate the investment alternative every single time. Before any tech purchase over $300, calculate what that money becomes in 10 years at 8% returns. $1,000 phone upgrade becomes $2,159 in 10 years. $1,400 laptop becomes $3,022. Seeing the opportunity cost in real numbers doesn't make the purchase wrong, but it makes the decision conscious instead of manufactured. And conscious decisions are the only ones you actually own. The identity shift, I want to challenge how you see yourself right now. You probably think of yourself as someone who is reasonably responsible with technology, not an early adopter who camps outside stores, not someone who buys every gadget, just someone who upgrades when it makes sense. But here's what the data actually shows. The average person who upgrades every 2 to 3 years is upgrading at almost exactly the pace the industry designed them to upgrade. Not based on device failure, not based on meaningful capability gaps, based on a manufactured timeline that maximizes corporate revenue, when it makes sense, has been defined for you. You did not set that standard. Apple set it. Samsung set it. The carrier who gives you an upgrade credit after 24 months set it. The influencer ecosystem that creates cultural buzz around every September release set it. You inherited a financial behavior and called it a choice. You are not bad with money. You were never shown the math. You are not behind for keeping an older device. You are ahead of every person still volunteering for a system designed to extract maximum revenue from minimum actual improvement. The person using a 4-year-old phone isn't struggling with technology. They're winning a financial game most people don't even know they're playing. The conclusion, let's go back to Jordan. He's standing in that line outside the Apple store. $1,199 phone. $0 actual change in his daily life pending. He doesn't know that over 40 years, his upgrade habit will transfer approximately $250,000 to $400,000 in potential wealth, real, compound, investable wealth, into corporate revenue. He doesn't know that the dissatisfaction he feels about his current phone was manufactured between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. by a keynote presentation that cost Apple more to produce than most people earn in a decade. He doesn't know that a refurbished version of the phone he's replacing will be available in 3 months for $450, doing 95% of what the $1,199 version does, for the people who don't volunteer for this. He just knows his phone feels old now. That feeling is not real. It was manufactured, on a schedule, by a company that needs him to feel it to survive. The upgrade illusion works because it doesn't attack your bank account directly. It attacks your perception. Your phone didn't become worse when the new model was announced. Your reference point shifted. And once you understand that, once you can feel the moment your reference point is being moved for you, you get to decide whether to move with it. You are not behind. You are being told you're behind by people who profit when you believe them. Your 3-year-old phone works. Your 4-year-old laptop works. The inadequacy you feel is not technical. It is a product they sell you every year, and it costs more than the device. Keep what works. Invest the difference. Watch what $500,000 does to the second half of your life. If this changed how you'll think about the next announcement, the next keynote, the next time you feel that pull, hit subscribe. Because what I'm going to show you next makes the upgrade illusion look like a warm-up. I'll see you there.